Hey everyone, this is Adam with Fort Safe for Good. We recently did a fundraiser for Time Out Youth, a North Carolina, Charlotte local LGBTQ plus community center, and wonderful people all around. Here's our interview. Let's get into it and see what we helped raise money for, and hopefully we can support more local charities in the future. Hey guys, thank you for joining us for this interview with Time Out Youth. We have Elissa Miller.
Hello.
She is their communications coordinator for Time Out Youth. This is that local community center slash, and as everything that I have read and seen, service provider for that area for a lot of LGBTQ plus youth activities and of services. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds pretty accurate to me. Hi, my name is Alyssa. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm the communications coordinator for Time Out Youth, and really excited to be here talking about Time Out Youth. So Time Out Youth is I would say an LGBT center here in Charlotte. That's goal is to serve queer and trans young people ages 13 to all the way up to 24. We do that in a lot of different ways. Some of those ways are like more serious service provision. So that would be we offer free mental health counseling for young people. We have full-time staff members whose entire job is to provide mental health counseling for LGBTQ plus young people. And that's going to be affirming therapy that understands the things that they're going through. We also do a lot of work with housing and supportive services. So for young people who are 18 and up, we do a lot of work to help people move into their first apartment, find the first place that they want to live and get there and stay there, which I think is like a key part of that as well. So whether that's we need to help you pay off an electric bill, we need help with food, we need help with employment. Those are all parts of like a really holistic picture of what goes into finding housing and staying in housing. So that's like the serious part of what we do on any given day. Our housing services department is supported by the fact we have a shower and a kitchen and a laundry room on site. And then we also have the fun part of what we do every day, which I think is what people think of when they think of a community center. We have drop-in space available in our center 6 days a week. We are open and available, and young people can come to the center and take a deep breath and hang out and meet other people like them and make friends. So whether they just want to come in the space, read a book, play on the Nintendo Switch, like do the puzzle that's always on the puzzle table, there's something going on. And there's really a program operating pretty much 6 days a week. So whether that is a planned drop-in space, whether that's a support group, which we have many of, whether that is, oh, I want to come and play Dungeons and Dragons, or we have a camp out program of like summer camp, day camp. We host prom. We just had our Juneteenth celebration. There is something going on at the center pretty much every single day except for Sunday. So we've got a really big breadth of what we're doing, and we really reach quite far as well. So we're located in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we say that we really serve Charlotte as well as all of its surrounding counties, and also have like reach that goes all across the state and into South Carolina as well.
When I was looking at the website, preparing for the interview, I just looked at all the services and I'm just like, so this is a very big mental health focused thing. And that's one thing that I really love about it. And one thing that I thought was great is that one of the counseling that you guys give is not only individual or affirming counseling, but also family counseling. One of the things that strikes me about, the community in general is that there's a lot of parental alienation. So, do you guys do a lot of work with trying to make parents understand, help coach them through the process of accepting a child? Or is it more of how do we get you into a safer place? How do we, get you into a good mindset?
We definitely are able to do family counseling. It's something that's in our repertoire. I
Mm-hmm.
will say we work really closely with community partners who are experts in working with families.
Mm-hmm.
So while we are really a youth-centered space, I would say everything we do, the goal is how do we serve our young people? What do our
Mm-hmm.
young people need? there is a lovely organization that is national, but has a branch right here in Charlotte that is called PFLAG. It used to stand for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays,
Mhm.
and is now like just a general acronym. And they really serve parents of every person and under the identity of LGBTQ plus. And they have a support group that meets in our building, but also they have support groups that meet all around the Charlotte area as well as virtually. So when we have a young person and their parent has questions and needs support, we are so thrilled to be able to connect them with PFLAG and work really in conjunction with PFLAG really regularly. The work they do is so vital and so important. I will say, like, my family has benefited from PFLAG.
Mhm.
And so when we consider ourselves like the youth-centered space, there are also incredible folks out there that we're able to connect people with when their young people reach out to us and say, yes, there are resources for parents. There are guides for parents. Here's how we can have that conversation. And so we're really lucky to be in community with organizations that are experts at the parent work while we get to be experts in serving young people.
That's amazing. That's you guys are doing the work, and that's really nice to see. But let's move into kind of a space that you said you have people. We've talked about this a little bit before the interview. People coming in to play D&D, and how that's becoming such a very queer inclusive space. One thing that we've strided for here over at Fort Safe for Good is that we're building up different programs and one shots to raise money for different organizations and make it as inclusive as possible. So, what do you think tabletop role playing games and just games in general can do to help facilitate inclusivity and bring people together?
Oh gosh, there's so much. Yes, so we do host D&D here at the center. That is something that was born out of, like I said, we're a really youth-centered space. When we ask our young people, what do they want? What kind of programs do we need?
Mm-hmm.
D&D was one of those things. And so through a partnership with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, we are now able to offer Dungeons and Dragons at our center once a month, which is exciting. And I think for me, as someone who does play tabletop RPGs, so much of the appeal and why it can be such like a queer and trans affirming space is that it's your opportunity to build different worlds that can have different rules in them, that can have different social norms, that can be explicitly accepting. It's your chance to play or be someone, a different character that might be a different gender than how you were raised. It's someone that might use different pronouns or a different name, and really like test out who you want to be. And so I think there's a reason that Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop RPGs have really spoken to the queer community for such a long time. And to see that recognized and to see the space become more inclusive is really, really exciting. Um, I think tabletop RPG and those kinds of role-playing games, they allow us to imagine different worlds. They allow us to imagine different rules and different possibilities. And that's why it's such a transformative and exciting thing to do.
So, do you have a favorite like Let's Play series of TTRPGs? Like, are I know there's a really great Dimension 20. There's Critical Role. I can't remember. I remember there was one where Brennan Lee Mulligan was game mastering a bunch of drag queens and went full drag for the experience, and that was
Yes,
amazing.
they're all great. I will say I have fallen into like the space in probably the past year and a half through Dimension 20 has been the door for me. So for that, like I really enjoyed watching Fantasy High, which was their first campaign, and to see the growth from there. Dungeons and Drag Queens is amazing and is one I would recommend to folks who haven't seen it before or haven't seen don't know anything maybe about D&D or coming at it from like being a fan of drag queens because they haven't played before either. So it's a really good campaign to watch to be like, oh, they're going to explain everything to you, which is really nice. And I will say right now, Dimension 20 is running a campaign called Cloudward Ho, and they're like 5 episodes in, and I'm obsessed with it already. It's lovely.
One thing that we try and incorporate in all of our like adventures that we're building is content warnings and ways to flag to make sure that you have safety tools in process. Do you guys use any safety tools at the table when you guys run D&D or even in your personal game?
I So I do not run the campaign that's here at the center. That's run through the library.
Hmm.
And I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you exactly what their process is,
Hmm.
because I'm more on like the communication side of what we do as opposed to like
Yeah.
the facilitating the game side of what we do. In
Hmm.
my own personal game, yes, like we've had conversations, like we've had like a kind of like game zero to talk about like what are we open to at the table, what are we not open to at the table. But we're also close friends, and so I think we have a pretty good read on what people would or would not be like comfortable with because we've known each other so long. Um, but generally, like I think it's always worth checking in and having an understanding of, hey, if this does cross a line, like how do we let each other know? How do we check in with each other?
Yeah, it's one of those things where with any kind of gaming, with any kind of organization, having that communication is key, especially when you want to make sure that people are comfortable in their own skin or comfortable in their own fantasy skin.
Absolutely.
I've had one of the people that I talked to uh, before we started this interview, we were going over some minor things, but I've had a couple of people come out as trans since the early 2000s when we started playing tabletop role playing games, where that space was not very friendly to the community at large. And there were very much tells whenever somebody may have been in the community and using Dungeons and Dragons as an escape, how delighted they were to find out there was a gender swapping potion that was completely usable in game and people accepted that you were a new person, or the fact that there was a default rule in 3.5 that everybody was automatically assumed to be bisexual to destigmatize, if somebody was gay or if somebody was lesbian back then before we kind of evolved our understanding of what everything could mean. And I think that's one of those great starting places for ttrpgs and an amazing thing that we can bring as a group together. Now, kind of switching back over to Timeout Youth, I know we talked about this before, but I know with good organizations like this, where where you have a good message, a good positive outreach, um, what got you interested into working with Timeout Youth initially? And do you have any kind of like stories of where they've helped you before you initially got in?
Yeah, so Timeout Youth, we operate in Charlotte. I grew up just outside of Charlotte in a suburb called Gaston County. And I will say like Timeout Youth absolutely was fundamental and helpful for family members of mine who came out before I did. And so I first heard about Timeout Youth in that capacity where they were helping people that I was really closely related to and wanted to make sure that they had supportive spaces. And Timeout Youth made all the difference for them. They went to their school and helped advocate for them in the school system. They connected my parents with PFLAG, which was vital and so helpful. And so ever since Timeout Youth has like been on my radar. I had a number of friends who interned for the organization when I was in college. And I've just really tried for many years, it was like the goal. How do I get in there? How do I work there? How do I make it happen? It's the kind of thing where you check a hiring page every 6 months to see, if they happen to be hiring. Um, Outside of college, I went on and worked for Equality Maine for a little bit. I did some work in Florida and just kind of kept my eyes on when Time Out Youth would be hiring. And when I saw that they were looking to hire a communications person, I went, that's it. That's the one for me. I'm going for it. And I'm so glad to have been here now. I've been here, I want to say a year and a half. So really excited to be here and continuing to do this work and working for an organization that I know has made such a difference in my lives and the lives of people I care about and is continuing to do so.
That's amazing. I love it when an organization grows the people that come work for it because, again, it means that you have that great vision and drive to help people and you know the target audience of who you want to help.
Absolutely. And I will say like Time Out Youth has gone through really rapid growth in the past couple of years. So if you had talked to Time Out Youth 5 years ago, it would have been a completely different size organization. So in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years, we've grown from a staff of about 8 to a staff of 16. We have rapidly increased the amount of services we're able to offer in housing and in clinical therapy. Those service sides have really grown to try and meet the needs of what our young people tell us they need. So my job is also new. We've hired a lot of different folks to help us reach the young people that we need to reach.
That's amazing. So, Time Out Youth, we found you because of one of our board of directors, Cheeky Magic. Basically, we were like, we're starting up this. Go help these people. We need to start supporting these people as quickly as possible. That's how we found you initially. So, one of the things for a lot of charities is that there are barriers to help. So, other than funding, because that is the number one thing for any charity is funding, what would you say your local barriers to help would be?
Hmm. Other than funding, I I don't feel like there are a lot of barriers outside of funding other than I think people, especially when it comes to being an ally to the queer community, can sometimes get trapped in like I need I need to be the perfect ally and I need to immediately make like the world's largest difference and I don't know how to do that and it feels really overwhelming and
Mm-hmm.
people can get kind of paralyzed of what do I do? I don't know how to help. Um, and so I would say like please don't hesitate to reach out to the local organizations in your area that are doing the work. I promise you, we have ways you can help that are not necessarily financial. Like we always have folks, if you're interested in volunteering, come join us as a volunteer. Is there and in what ways do you want to do that? Maybe you want to help with young people with programs. Maybe you love cooking and want to provide dinner. Like whatever the different ways you can help or help a program, like we want to let you know what that is. And so I think don't let like the fear of what to do or how can I help like prevent you from reaching out because organizations have ways that we're looking for people to get plugged in. We're like, wow, wouldn't it be so nice to talk to someone in this space, but we don't necessarily know someone in that space. So if someone reaches out to us and is like, yes, I am a teacher and I want to get you connected with my school, like, yes, absolutely, we would love to talk. Let's do that. And so I think that's one of those things. Just reach out. Like let us know you're an ally and you want to help, and we will absolutely get plugged in and get excited about that. Um, and I would say like that's a major thing is that people are like, oh, I've driven past, I will say like I table for us in the community all the time. And the amount of times I've heard, oh, I've driven past your center so many times and just like didn't know how to get connected. Send us an email, give us a phone call. Like would love to chat anytime.
So with that, what are the pressing needs that you guys are looking for right now to help grow the community center, to help grow your services and make it so that you're more visible in the community?
I will say the biggest hurdle, and we've been very open about talking about this right now, the world that we're in is funding right now. We have talked about and made a public statement about, which like y'all you can find online. Um, we are seeing a pullback in especially like the DEI spaces and corporate spaces that has led us to a funding gap here that we are like really addressing. I think it's time for like a community to really pull together and support one another. So I will say like funding, we're always going to be accepting and talking about the easiest way you can support us and our work is by donating funds. They allow us to make a real difference in the lives of our young people and to do the work that we do every single day. But we also, yeah, love talking to people who are interested in volunteering. If you live in the Charlotte area and want to get involved, yes, absolutely, you're so welcome. If you don't live in the Charlotte area and want to support our work, so if you want to share the word about what we do, if you want to connect with us on social media, we are there, like happy to have you share the work that we do. If you're someone who works for an organization that would be interested in, say, how do I make my space more affirming for LGBTQ plus young people? We do a lot of training with organizations. So if you work for a summer camp, if you work for a school, if you work for a business, or a social service organization that serves young people. The goal is not that Time Out Youth is the only LGBT affirming space in the world, it's that every place can be an LGBT affirming space. So we will happily talk to you. We do consultations, we do trainings to help make other spaces just as affirming as we are. And so that's another way you could absolutely get connected with us. And we would be very excited to be a part of that journey. So, yeah, if there is an inkling of a way that you might want to get involved, please reach out to us.
I appreciate you coming on and telling us about Timeout Youth. I kind of always want to say Timeout for Youth for some reason because my brain is like, what?
You're not alone. I will say that has happened many times. Also, yeah, I will say many times people think because it says timeout, we've definitely gotten calls from parents who like don't realize that we mean that in an LGBT way and just think we're like a center they can send kids who are acting up. And we're like, no, that's not it's not what we do, actually.
I mean, they may be acting up, but not for the reason that you're sending them.
Yeah, I was like, this is no, like we're here for our queer and trans young people to like come find community and space. And if they're going through something, we're happy to talk about that for sure.
All right. Last question. What is your main TTRPG class whenever you play? What do you roll up?
I've played a rogue for a while, so I would say that's typically where I'm at the moment. I have enjoyed getting into all sorts of shenanigans as a rogue.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, and we appreciate working with you. And we are definitely going to be doing more fundraisers for you guys in the future. We'll give you a heads up whenever we do it. Hopefully, a little more than just like 3 days in advance, like we did last time.
No, we're so grateful that it was amazing, and we would love to work with you all more. And thank you to your community for supporting us and for supporting LGBTQ plus young people.
Thank you guys for your time and everything that you've done. We have on the screen over here all of the ways to contact Timeout Youth. You can also reach out to us at fortsaveforgood.org if you want to suggest a charity that we can help fundraise for or find a way to give back to your community. We're more than happy to help you organize magic tournaments, magic events, TTRPG events. We're going to be going to several cons this year, including MagicCon Atlanta and Gen Con coming up. So we hope to see you guys there, and we hope to give more people advantage.